So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Nuki back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, May 27th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Thursday, May 27th here today. We are getting closer and closer here to the weekend and to obviously Memorial Day weekend and obviously all the sports action that comes with that. Obviously, last night, another big night in sports, another big night for New York sports. The New York Islanders and the New York Knicks both got wins. The Islanders win their series against the Penguins, and the Knicks take Game 2 from the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, the Yankees and Mets games both got postponed due to weather, so the Mets will play a doubleheader today. The Yankees will play a doubleheader today, so obviously 4 New York baseball games, 2 with the Yankees, 2 with the Mets, so we can't complain as fans that we don't got baseball today because we got a lot of it, and then we got a lot going into the weekend. Obviously, New York Yankees will close out their homestand today against the Toronto Blue Jays with starting at 4:10 p.m. Eastern, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time, and then obviously they got the other game that starts 15, 20, 30 minutes after the first game. So let's say the first game ends. It's only a 7-inning game, so you figure 4 o'clock to 6 or not 6. It's 5:36. So the second game will probably start 6:45, 7. So you have 2 games today. You'll have a good opportunity for the Yankees to get 2 wins. Feeling confident. You got to hope that Herman's on his game today against the Toronto Blue Jays in Game 1, and obviously Game 2. Obviously, Herman won't take the ball Game 2, but you got to hope the Yankees come to play both games. And the Yankees are now starting to obviously hit some injuries and starting to hit a little bit of rocky road when it comes to injuries. Not overall play, but injuries definitely starting to hit a little bit of a bump, which is always going to happen throughout the year, but the Yankees got to fight through it. So a lot of action to get to today. Like I mentioned, Yankees play today, Mets play today, 4 games on today, 2 for the Yankees, 2 for the Mets. And then Knicks have a day off. Islanders, obviously, they just won a series last night. They, of course, have a day off. And the Nets also have a day off. The Nets will play tomorrow in Boston against the Celtics for Game 3 of that series. And that's a big game tomorrow because I'm telling you, if the Nets win that game, we could take Game 4 Sunday and be done with the series. If we lose tomorrow, we obviously got to at least go back to Barclays. So, you got to hope that the Nets pull out the win tomorrow and obviously move on to Game 4 and, hopefully get the sweep. And that's obviously the goal. That's the hope. You would love to get the sweep and, get the extra rest, hoping that Bucks series goes into extra games. Obviously, you got to hope that the Nets get the sweep. Obviously, Bucks Heat played today. That one's in Miami. The Bucks took 2 at home. They now head to Miami, so an opportunity for the Bucks to take a 3-1, 3-0 lead, an opportunity for the Heat to get 1 at home and get back into the series at 2-1. So we'll see how that all plays out. But like I always say, I've been saying this for a long time now. A year ago now. A year ago, not even just today, but a year ago, we were struggling to find anything to watch. There was nothing going on, obviously, with the whole virus situation, and now we stand here May 27th, and there's 4 baseball games on today between the Yankees and the Mets, both doubleheaders. Obviously, the Knicks and Islanders both played last night, both got big wins. Nets play tomorrow, so not only are sports rocking, but especially New York sports, and New York sports are having a lot of success right now. Nets, Knicks, and Islanders all in the playoffs. The New York Yankees are obviously getting hot and are 8 games above 500, and the New York Mets obviously are first in their division. They're not playing their best baseball. They have all these injuries, but hey, they're still on, and they're still at the top of the division. So obviously their fans, I'm sure, aren't very happy, overall, but obviously they still are first in the division, and first place is first place, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I always say it doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter what your record is. If you're in first, you're in first. If you're in last, you're in last. And obviously the New York Yankees are getting closer to first place. We are third place right now, only behind the Red Sox and the Rays. And the Rays are obviously cruising right now. Just snapped, I believe, like 11-game win streak. But they're cruising right now, and we'll see how it all plays out. So a very packed time for New York sports, a very packed time for me. And with all that being said, let's get into the topics for today here on this Thursday podcast. To start it up, I'm going to get into the Yankees injury updates. There's not much else I got to be said here. I'm not dialing in on one player. There's a lot of injuries going on with the New York Yankees. We got about 3 stories today to talk about. Corey Kluber going to miss at least 2 months. Yesterday was at first a month, and then today yesterday at first he was supposed to miss 4 weeks without throwing, and then now it's going to be 2 months. So it looks like a month without throwing, and in his recovery time. So he might not be back until July to mid-July with the way he's going. I mean, obviously it's late May right now, so you would assume 2 months would be exactly July 26th, since he officially yesterday was it. So it's a guy who might not be back until, a little bit into July, which is obviously tough for the New York Yankees, but you got to hope he gets better soon, back sooner than later. Luke Voit obviously back on the IL. He's got a grade 2 oblique strain. And obviously that's something that New York Yankees fans, including myself, are very surprised to hear. Kluber, it was surprising news because we didn't expect, that to be that bad. We knew he got injured with the shoulder, but Voit, supposedly it's been bothering him as oblique, and he's been trying to play through it, and it's just not helping him, and that might be, a little bit why his hitting hasn't been great, was because of the oblique, and he's trying to play through it. And then also we got news today that, no surprising here, but officially Aaron Hicks is done for the season. Obviously, they put him on the 10-day IL. He is obviously now done for the season. And the Yankees confirmed it, obviously, today. And Aaron Boone officially said today he is done for the season, which means Yankees need to make some roster moves. I believe we called up Estevan Florio and some other little moves here and there. So we'll see how all that plays out. You're not trying to wish bad on anyone, but maybe not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that it's good to see anyone get injured. I'm not saying at all, but Aaron Hicks has struggled. So, maybe if we get another bat in the lineup and a guy like Estevan Florio, maybe we get the opportunity to get, a bat that can actually hit, because, Hicks was really struggling. So we'll get into all that. Then we'll get into Noah Syndergaard. Some more injury news on the Mets front. Noah Syndergaard will have a setback. He has a setback. He is not allowed to throw now, I believe, for 6 weeks. He got taken out of his rehab assignment game, and now he's going to miss throwing for about 6 weeks, they said. So you're talking a month, a month and a half pretty much now. So he might not be back until July as well. And for Mets fans that thought he might be back in June-ish, which is what a lot of people expected, he might not be back now until July, maybe August. So another lost season for Noah Syndergaard in a way. Like I said, he'll come back. I don't think he'll miss the entire year. But this is a guy that's been rattled with injuries, and yet another setback and yet another injury for Noah Syndergaard. And this does impact the Mets, because you obviously had DeGrom, who just came off. Then you have Syndergaard getting healthy, and you got to hope Carrasco gets going soon. And you're like, okay, finally our rotation's starting to form, and then Carrasco and DeGrom are both, looks like, not coming back anytime soon. Syndergaard, I said DeGrom earlier, but Syndergaard obviously has a huge setback. So 6 weeks is long. If you miss another start, or if it's a week, that's one thing. But 6 weeks of a setback, a big loss for the New York Mets. So I wanted to get into that. Then we'll finish off the podcast with the New York Sports Update. As always, we'll finish off this Thursday edition of the BSN Network podcast with the New York Sports Update. Like I mentioned, 4 baseball games on today. 2 with the Yankees, 2 with the Mets. And obviously Yankees at 4 o'clock, and then 30 minutes after the first game. So I would assume the second game is going to be like 7-ish, somewhere around there. 6:45 and 7. Doesn't make much of a difference. And then on paper, it's 4:05 and 7:05 are the games. So that's how it is. And then the Mets obviously played today as well. Knicks, Islanders, and Nets, all with days off. So not much action going on with the NBA and NHL playoffs for the New York sports. But baseball, there is a lot going on. So, with all that being said, let's get into the podcast. This is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So, obviously, the New York Mets, and as a Yankee fan, like I said, this has been happening for the past couple years now, 2 years now, I'd say 2 to 3 years now, where the New York Yankees have really just, they just get injury, they get hurt with the injury bug every year, and I can't really complain that much this year, because, to be honest, the New York Yankees this year have actually been, pretty well. Another injury update, actually, with Stanton supposed to be activated on Friday, which is tomorrow. That's a positive news. But, that brought up my point here with Stan. That's why it made me think of it, was the New York Yankees these past couple years here have really struggled with the injuries. And obviously it's been Aaron Judge, and it's been Stanton, and it's been Sanchez who's gotten injured a couple times. It's been, the pitching staff, and, it's been all these different guys here and there. It's been Voit. A lot of these guys, they're just getting injured and injured and injured and injured, and every year it's like, oh my gosh, and Hicks, and he's gotten injured so many times, and it's like, it's the same thing over and over and over and over again, and obviously a lot of people have been talking about it and take notice about it. At the past 2 years, the New York Yankees have really struggled with the injury front. We've been getting drilled with injuries, and that's kind of how we made up that next man up mentality where it was up, another guy goes down, well, we got to bring another guy up, and that guy goes down, and we got to bring another guy up. And this season, I can't complain too much because I will tell you what, the New York Mets are in a much worse situation than the New York Yankees. Obviously, number one, they're without a lot of their big key players. And number two, their only big name player that's healthy, Francisco Lindor, he's not doing anything at the plate. And he's just not doing anything at all to help the team. So it's not like Elise Lindor's healthy. No, that's not even the case for the New York Mets. Lindor has been terrible. And the guys that have been on the IL are impact players. Pete Alonso, Michael Conforto, Jeff McNeil, all those guys. And the New York Mets obviously really have problems. I mean, the New York Mets had Albert Almora, I believe, run into the wall. And then his backup, or a guy they called up from the Double-A or Triple-A or something, the minor leagues, he got injured running into the wall. So then they had to go trade for Billy McKinney, who's a minor leaguer right now. There's so much stuff going on with the New York Mets. So as a Yankee fan, as much as over the past 2 years, we've gotten absolutely destroyed with injuries, especially to our star players, like Aaron Judge, like Giancarlo Stanton, like Luke Voit, right? Guys like that. Some of these other guys here and there getting, little injuries here and there, nothing major, but we've had guys, they get injured and they're not injured for a short amount of time, they're injured for a long amount of time. And obviously that's been one of the big issues. So I would like to say this first. As much as the injuries stink, and I'm not happy at all that we've got all of a sudden 3 injuries in a row here happen within the span of a couple weeks. About a week ago, right, we learned that Hicks was going to be down. Then we hear now that Kluber and Voit, we heard Kluber and Voit literally, it was in Aaron Boone's press conference. They asked him about Kluber, and then someone asked him the injury update literally 30 seconds apart, and Voit and Kluber literally, boom, both hit the IL at the same time. Obviously, we all knew about the Hicks news, but obviously Boone today made it official that Hicks is done for the season. I'm not even going to get into if he's going to go to playoffs or not. I know people might wonder that, will he be ready for playoffs? I'm not even going to get into that. Not being a Debbie Downer, we got to get there first. And number two, that's all the way in September. Let's focus right now on May. Let's focus right now on the situation at hand and the games ahead of us. So, obviously, as much as it stinks to have all these injuries, it's not as bad as the New York Mets, I will tell you that. Mets are probably the worst injured team right now, and it's also not as bad as the New York Yankees had last season and years past, because you got to at least say this. Aaron Judge has been healthy, knock on wood. Knock on wood, he's been healthy. Stanton, for the most part, has been healthy. He hit the IL once, but to be honest, average, you're going to miss. As an average player, you might hit the IL at least once. Now, he only missed a couple games. It's not like he missed 30 games because of it. If the rest of the season, it's smooth sailing for him, he'll still play 140, 150 games, which is exactly what New York Yankee fan want him to do. And same thing with Judge. Judge has so far been healthy, been good. Everything that he did in the offseason so far been working. And to be honest, for Aaron Judge, this you can almost say might be the longest he's ever gone. Because he'll usually go about 10, 15 games, and then he'll get hurt. And the rest of the year, it's just a bunch of up and down, up and down, up and down. Healthy, injured, healthy, injured, healthy, injured. And he can never just stay on a smooth path. So far, he's been on a smooth path. So, the updates for the New York Yankees. And like I said, it obviously stinks all the injured. No matter if it's your favorite team or not, it always stinks to see any player, anybody get injured. Whether you hate them, whether you love that player, whether you hate that player, whether you could care less about that player, whatever, you never like to see anyone get injured. And when it's in your own team and it's the players you like, you never like to see it because it is a big impact. And obviously Corey Kluber is obviously the big news because not a lot of people expected it coming. And same thing with Luke Voit. But Luke Voit was injured at the beginning of the year. Now, Luke Voit, when I heard he got injured, I didn't think it was something with the knee, but your thoughts fly through your head. Oh, is it something with the knee? Is it something where he re-aggravated? That was a grade 2 oblique strain. So the updates injuries for the New York Yankees are as follows. So Corey Kluber has been shut down for 4 weeks. He was shut down for a month. That's a complicated way of saying a month. So he is shut down for a month, which means he will not throw for 1 month. And that is obviously really tough. And it's not only tough because it's not only tough for Kluber, but it's tough for the New York Yankees. And obviously Corey Kluber just more like a week ago, he threw a no-hitter. And obviously, with that going on, was it exactly a week today he threw a no-hitter? I think it was, right? Was it exactly a week today Kluber threw the no-hitter? Was it Thursday or was it Friday? I'm not sure. That's besides the point. But obviously a guy who threw the no-hitter and then goes out there and pitches on Tuesday doesn't feel right. And obviously we find out yesterday that obviously the news came in and it was really negative. And obviously it was the shoulder tightness. So us as Yankees fans, Aaron Boone, and obviously most of MLB fans who even cared about the situation, they all thought the same, that it was shoulder tightness. He said he didn't feel it in one area. And sure enough, it is a right something. Let's see. It's a right. The Yankees are listing it as a right shoulder strain. So that means that he's going to be out for a little bit here. And obviously he got placed on it officially yesterday. And that's a really big loss for the New York Yankees. And he's going to be out. And it's not even like he's out for a little bit. He's going to be out for at least 2 months. And that's a long amount of time. And the Yankees got to find a way to fill in his shoes. And I would assume the Yankees will probably call up Davey Garcia here. And he's going to have to fill in those innings. Because Kluber, to be honest, for a guy that we got on a low flyer, it was a flyer. We got him on a low-cost addition. He wasn't much money at all. And for a guy who's been very solid, it's a tough loss. And then you get Luke Voit news out of the middle of nowhere. Just comes out of center field. And it's that he has the oblique strain, which is obviously very bad news. Because oblique strains are really bad. And they are. And we all know that, Hicks, especially Hicks, he's really struggled with oblique strains. But the issue with obliques, and which is why you see players get them over and over and over again, and I just know this from experience, I just know this from watching baseball. This isn't any, special stuff you got to know. Obliques tend to linger. So you could have an oblique injury, feel good, come back, and then all of a sudden, a couple at-bats, you feel it again. Because they're things that usually get re-injured very easily. So that's obviously tough for, Luke Voit. And obviously Voit's had, a tough start to the season. And I know a lot of people will want to criticize his hitting, and I get that. But, the guy also has only played about, 10 games. He's also missed, the first month and a half of the season of a torn ACL, partially torn ACL. And now he's got what is it? Why am I I got to look at this. I completely forgot. What's the injury again? Luke Voit with a right oblique. I don't know why I said lat. It completely left my head. So an oblique strain. And obviously for a guy, too, who's only played about 10 games, has not played much at all. He's barely played anyway. I'll look it up in a little bit here. I want to get to some of these guys' stats as well. He's barely even played. And he's obviously on the 10-day injury list. Now, they did not set a timetable for Luke Voit. They did set a timetable for Corey Kluber. Not an official timetable, but they did say he won't be throwing for a month, and obviously it's going to probably take a little bit to recover and come back. Voit, they did not. Obliques can be tough. Obliques can be, like I said, lingering. You could feel good 1 minute and then take a swing, and all of a sudden it comes back to you. But a lot of times obliques, they're not very long usually. It takes a couple days to heal. He's going to be sidelined definitely for a little bit. It's the 10-day IL, so he's going to be sidelined. He's not just going to come back out of the middle of nowhere. And that's obviously tough, because Voit, the New York Yankees this entire season have had extreme struggles at first base. Obviously, you had Jay Bruce to start the year, then you had Mike Ford, and now you have Luke Voit, and then Luke Voit's injured, so then you got to bring Ford back, and there's just so much stuff going on here at first base, and that's a situation that's obviously really tough. Now, Ford is not going to be the everyday first baseman until Voit comes back. I would assume it's probably going to be LeMahieu at 1, Odor at 2, Glaber at short, and Urshela at third, and that's what I'm saying, too. And like I said, these players are big players for the team. Voit and Kluber, they're big assets, and especially Kluber. The guy threw a no-hitter. He's been very surprisingly good. And another thing with Kluber, too, and this is what stinks even more, his first 3 to 4 starts of the season were terrible. His last 5 starts have been very good, and they've looked what the Yankees fans wanted out of him and some. So it's obviously tough for a guy that starts to gain some momentum, starts to pitch very well, to then get shut down again. That's obviously tough. And Voit, like I said, obviously, the guy has not hit the best. But, I mean, it's not like you really can blame him that much because the guy did have a, partially torn ACL. He missed the beginning part of the season. He comes back. He kind of just gets thrown into the lineup. And all of a sudden, then there's a game he's batting leadoff there. Now, he did have a couple big hits, throughout that road trip. I believe he had a hit against the Orioles and then, a couple against the Rangers. And, he definitely had his moments. He definitely had some nice hits. I believe he had a home run against the Rangers. He's definitely had some good games. It's not Luke Voit, though. It's not what we're expecting to see out of him. And obviously, they did say for the past 2 weeks now, he's been trying to about play through it. And that's obviously, tough news. And that's one thing I do like about Luke Voit. Now, I know a lot of fans might take this and run with it because a lot of fans hate it. But I like a guy like Luke Voit, someone like that who, plays hard, plays for his team. He's going to go out there. He doesn't want to miss games. And it proves to you when he doesn't get it, when he tries to play through injury. He doesn't want to miss games. He hates it. It's a guy who throughout that whole playoffs was playing with a foot injury. So obviously tough there, and it was very surprising to see that too. And a guy who, it's been such a tough year. Last year, he had such a good year, led the MLB in home runs, was the Yankees such a good hitter. And then this season starts off bad with obviously the partially torn ACL. And then you get to now the oblique strain, and it's like 2 IL stints, and he's only 2 IL stints, and he's only played about 5 to 10 games, and it's either 10 games, 10 to 12 games, whatever. And he's really, really just not been able to get into a groove. And you gotta hope that when he comes back, he goes from about June-ish to July and August and September, and just use that like the season. If I'm Luke Voit here, you got to just put this part of the season behind you. Put down all of April. Just forget about all of April. Forget about all of May. Whenever you get back out there on the field, pretend like that's the new season. Pretend like that's opening day. Just start fresh. Start over. Forget about the 2 months of the season because it was really rocky for Luke Voit. It has not been a smooth sailing for him at all. And obviously he heads back onto the injury list. And not that Voigt's been the healthiest player in the world because he's had some injuries before. But this is a guy who's been able to stay relatively healthy. I mean, he's obviously had some injuries, but it's not like every single year he's on the IL 3-4 times. I mean, he hits it sometimes, but it's not terrible. This season, it just, 2 IL stints and, only about 10 games played. All right, so let's read all the roster moves. And obviously Aaron Hicks done for the season. There's no surprise there. Obviously the torn, ligament in the wrist. That made it. Baron Boone made it official today. We all expected him to be out for the rest of the season. If you didn't, then you were really trying to hold out hope there. I expected it. We all expected it. Just another injury. Just another, road we gotta. Just another, little bump in the road we gotta get over. But let's look at all the roster moves for the New York Yankees here. So, let me just grab water here. All right. So, the roster moves for the New York Yankees yesterday were as followed. On Wednesday, infielder DJ LeMahieu was reinstated from the paternity list. So he is back with the team, and I believe he is also going to lead off today. And then, prior to today's doubleheader, the Yankees have done this. So they placed right-handed pitcher Corey Kluber on the 10-day injured list. And that is retroactive to May 26th, which was yesterday. Obviously, that was official with a right shoulder strain. Then they placed infielder Luke Voit on the 10-day injured list, retroactive to also yesterday, May 26th, with a right oblique strain. And then also one more move the New York Yankees made was their calling up of players. So they recalled outfielder Estevan Florio and right-handed pitcher Albert Abreu, and from AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. So Albert Abreu this season has been up with the New York Yankees. He actually came up that Texas Rangers series. He's been up and down. I'm assuming he's going to get a more increased role now because they need to fill the roster spots, they need to fill the bullpen, they need to fill some things. So I'm assuming he's probably going to get more of an increased role. So I don't know if you'll see Albert Abreu do what he did in the beginning of the season where he's up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And obviously the New York Yankees called outfielder Estevan Florio. And I was actually hoping the New York Yankees called up Florio because he's been a guy he's had his moments before. He's gotten called up, I believe, 3-4 times with the New York Yankees. I know last season he was up with us for a little bit. Last season was so weird. That was such a weird season. It was like, you had days where guys were getting called up, then they weren't. You had guys playing. It was such a weird season last season. So, yeah, that, and then you obviously had, with Albert Abreu, who's been up and down, especially this season. But I wanted to see Florio get up. And nothing against, guys like a Ryan Lamar or another guy out there who's playing in AAA right now. Nothing against them. You got to understand they do work very hard. But Estevan Florio, and especially in AAA and AA, he's been playing really, really good. And we obviously saw it over these past couple weeks here, a month. We obviously began with the Somerset Patriots, who are the Yankees' new AA team. Was amazing there. Only played about 5-6 games with them, and then obviously ended up getting called up to AAA. And he's played only a little bit with the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, and he's been very good with the Patriots. He was very good with the Rail Riders, and he's finally getting his opportunity to get called up here. And I really like that because this is a guy who's been playing really hard. He's one of the Yankees' top prospects, and one thing the Yankees don't do very well is utilize their top prospects that well. And I do hope Davy Garcia gets called up. They do say that he might get called up for the series coming up, which I could very well also see that happening. I hope it happens. Obviously, I like Davy Garcia a lot. He's got the guy's got a bright future ahead of him. Obviously, we head to Detroit on Friday, and we have a 3-game weekend series in Detroit starting tomorrow into Sunday. So obviously, Yankees are in Detroit. I would assume you probably call up Davy Garcia there because Garcia is going to have to eat up the innings that Kluber is going to miss. And who knows? Maybe Garcia makes his, presence felt and, gets onto the, gets more of an increased role, when Kluber comes back. But that's obviously down the road. That's when all of them get healthy again. But I do like that we're calling up Florio, and nothing against, the other players too. But Florio's young. He's going to grow a little bit. He's still going to learn. He's still going to grow and stuff like that. And the Yankees are very high on him. And he's a very good player. I mean, the guy has played, 15 games in minor leagues this season? However many. He played, obviously he started off with the Patriots. Maybe that's exaggeration. He's probably played about 20, 25 games. He started off with the Somerset Patriots. He only played about, 6-7 games maybe. And then he got called up to Scranton. And who knows? I don't know how many he even played there. He might have played only 10 to 15. I know he probably played more with Scranton, which is around the 20 to 25 mark. And now he's getting called up with the Yankees. And that's another thing, too, that's very promising. And I get it. Single A to AA, AA to AAA, they're all big steps. Right? Whenever you go up a level, it's going to be a big step. It's going to be a quicker game. There's going to be better pitching. But the biggest step is AAA to MLB. And, I know a lot of people might want to go off of and say, oh, why are we calling up Florio early? I still want to see him develop. This is, I feel like, the perfect, opportunity for him. Because, obviously he's going to have pressure. But it's not like he's got that much pressure on him. The New York Yankees, in a way, who knows if he's even going to be playing a lot. And he might get an at-bat in the second game of the series today. But this is a guy who, you got Clint Frazier, you got Miguel Andujar, you obviously got Judge, you got Gardner, you got all those guys. It's not, they obviously are without Hicks now, so they are going to need, another outfielder. But, it's not like he's going to be in a starting role every day. It's not like they called him up to be an everyday player. This is a guy who's still going to learn and grow and develop in the MLB. We're just calling him up. Get him some MLB at-bats. Give him an opportunity. Not nothing against Hicks, but this is a guy who I would love to see not in the lineup next year. And I'm not trying to say that mean. I might sound mean. I'm not sugarcoating it, though. I don't like Aaron Hicks. He's not a good player. He's been terrible for us. It's been an awful signing. That might be it for him. And, if Florio can show anything, if he can show a little bit, a little bit of potential, a little bit of athleticism potential and stuff like that, the New York Yankees, he might have their eye. And obviously he's had their eye this entire season in AA and AAA. And I get where people are coming from. Don't, waste all of his talent, calling him up too early. But at the same time, you got to realize, let him give him at-bats. The Yankees are thin at the outfield position. Give him an opportunity, give him some at-bats, see what he does, and maybe he gets an increased role. Maybe he starts hitting well, maybe he gets an increased role. Now, has he raked when he's been up with the New York Yankees? No, but he's been up with them for such short amount of times. He hasn't been up with the New York Yankees for an entirety of a season. He's been up and down, up and down, up and down. You could tell how the guy's been. He started the season with the Patriots, then went to the Rail Riders, now with the Yankees. He's played with 3 different teams in a matter of about a month. So a lot going on for him, and an opportunity to come up and do his job. And believe me, I've seen his highlights. I've seen what the guy can do. Florio is a really good player. He was raking in AA. And a big thing I think, too, is obviously he was really good in AA. And that's one thing, right? And I'm nothing against AA, nothing against that. He did well in AA. But the true test was AAA. He makes that jump early in the year, a little bit of quicker pitching and stuff like that. And then, obviously, right, things like that. And then obviously gets called up to AAA. And like I said, faster pitching and stuff like that, and he does well. But the biggest jump is the MLB. And another thing, too, is with Yankees fans, now that all of a sudden he's like the Yankees' top prospect, it doesn't mean you don't want to just keep him in the minors. Let him come up. Give him some experience. The Yankees need it right now. The Yankees need the experience really badly right now. They need it. So, not the experience, but they need a guy. And I don't know why I said experience, but the Yankees need an outfielder. So, you call him up. And Ryan Lamar for the New York Yankees, he didn't do much while he was up here. Obviously, a guy who, too, has been around for a really long time. And obviously, been around for a really long time. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But a lot of injuries for the New York Yankees. So I'm going to read through some of the stats this season for, let's read through some of the stats for Kluber and then Voit. And I don't think I might be able to get to Estevan Florial's minor league stats. Let's start with Kluber here this season. Obviously, he pitched 10 games, was 4-3. He had a 3.04 ERA. His WHIP was 1.20. Obviously 53 and in the third inning pitched, 55 strikeouts, 23 walks, 2.4 K to walk ratio, 41 hits to 21 runs. 18 of those runs were earned. And obviously, he also pitched no-hitter this season. So, a guy who has had a pretty good year this year, 35 years old, has been playing pretty well, but obviously not able to stay healthy here so far. And hopefully he gets back, back going soon. And Luke Voigt's stats this year have been as followed. They haven't been great, but, he's only played 12 games. He's played 12 games, 44 at-bats, 4 runs, 8 hits, no doubles, no triples, 1 home run, 3 RBIs. He's taken 5 walks. I don't know why the stat means much, but he has 1 hit by pitch this season. Not that really means anything. 15 strikeouts, batting 182, which is obviously tough to see. You never like to see that, but you got to hope that he's able to bounce back. And to be honest, you look at him, his 2018, he played 39 games with the Yankees, but I believe he was traded mid-year that year, So that year, obviously, he couldn't play that much. But then you look at 2019, he played 118 games. Last season, he played 56 of the 60. And this season, he played 12. So, he's been able to stay relatively healthy. But he is 30, and you got to hope that he comes back sooner rather than later. And this just isn't a lost season for him. Because we need him, for the rest of the season. And, we need him, for just in general. His defense, his overall play, he's a very good player. He's been a steal for the New York Yankees. So you got to hope that he comes back soon as well. And then I wanted to get to this quick Aaron Hicks article here before we head on over to, I guess I could maybe give you Florio stats quickly, but I think it'll be okay. It's in minor leagues. Not that they don't mean anything in those minor league stats, but I would you want to more see the MLB stats, which he's got to get some first. Obviously he's got to get an opportunity here to play. All right, so Aaron Hicks obviously done for the season. I could probably, I'll hold off on the article. I don't have it up here. And then, actually here, I'll get it up. I'll get up Estevan Florio minor league stats here. I know, I'm all over the place, but when you got all these players, Estevan Florio stats. We'll pull up his minor league stats. He's been very good in the minor leagues this season. And, you got to hope that, like I said, he plays well. Am I expecting him to come up this year and dominate? I don't know. Alrighty, so his career stats in the minor leagues are as followed. So he's had 1,576 at-bats in the minor leagues, batting .270, 48 home runs, 222 RBIs, 74 stolen bases, and a .7292 OPS. His MLB career stats, this is kind of really what matters. 3 at-bats, 33 average, no home runs, no RBIs, no stolen bases, and .667 OPS. So he's only had 3 at-bats in his MLB career. So, obviously, and this season he's only played 17 games. He had 35 at-bats with the Patriots, and 34 with the Rail Riders. So a guy who's been up and down everywhere. And he's a prospect, so that's going to happen. Obviously, this guy this season has also cranked in 6 home runs, 9 RBIs, all in 18 games. So hopefully he gets rolling. He's batting .203 this season. Hopefully he plays well. Like I said, am I expecting him to come out and bat .400 and crank in 10 home runs? No. But it gives him experience. It gives him more than 3 at-bat experience. He's had 3 at-bats in his MLB career. It gives him experience. It gives him an opportunity to, just go out there, hopefully, play well and, try to, help out this Yankees team because we need it most, especially in the outfield. Alrighty, so that's what I got for the New York Yankees injury update there. The other New York football team as well, or not New York football team, the other New York baseball team is really struggling with injuries, actually struggling even more than New York Yankees. They've had injuries all over the place, and they keep piling up. As we learned today that Javier Baez, I got an update. That Noah Syndergaard will be shut down for 6 weeks after elbow inflammation injury. He obviously had Tommy John. He threw a game with the AAA team, and he didn't feel right, and now he's shut down for 6 weeks. So for a guy that was going to probably return relatively soon, is now shut down for a whole lot longer. And I'm going to kind of tell you, what the Mets here have in store for them coming up, and what's in store for Noah Syndergaard. I'll get to you all that coming up next. Alrighty, so obviously, like I mentioned earlier with the New York Yankees, obviously, Mets Noah Syndergaard shut down for 6 weeks after elbow inflammation injury. Obviously, like I mentioned with the New York Yankees, they are now starting to deal with a little bit of injuries. But as a Yankee fan, it's not awful. It's not awful. Now, obviously, it's not ideal. I mean, injuries aren't ideal. Hicks went down, we all knew that. So that's no shocker that he was obviously done for the year. But Kluber Kluber was a surprise. Obviously, we all thought it was just tightness. Maybe just wasn't. He was a little groggy and just needed maybe a little bit of rest. He's shut down for 2. He's done. He'll miss at least 2 months, and then obviously now Voit as well. I don't think Voit will miss 2 months, but he's also going to miss some time as well. But the New York Mets and the other team in the other team in New York plays at Citi Field. The New York Mets. Oh boy. Have they really been hurt with the injury bug? And it's almost like the injury bug is viral because the New York Yankees have been suffering with it for the past 2 years. And then now all of a sudden, the New York Mets have gotten crushed with it this year. Have gotten destroyed. I mean, it's bad when Brandon Drury 2 nights ago was batting, 3rd or 4th or something? It's bad then. And then Cameron Maybin, you got him in the lineup. I mean, there's so many guys out of the middle of nowhere that I didn't even know were on the Mets are now on the Mets. And then you got to trade for Billy McKinney. I mean, the New York Mets right now. And the sad part, the even more sad part is that the NL East is so bad that the New York Mets are in first place in that division. The NL East is that bad that the New York Mets are still in first place, and they're literally playing with a minor league lineup. And Francisco Lindor, he's still in the lineup, but he is hitting like absolute garbage, and he is not doing anything at the plate, anything productive whatsoever. He is hitting like garbage. He is continuing to hit like garbage. Last night was exactly the same. Francisco Lindor, a whole lot of garbage. Now, Noah Syndergaard now is also suffering a setback. And you got to wonder for New York, if you're a New York Met fan, and I always wonder this as a Yankee fan, the real question is when are they going to come back? And that's the real question, is when are they going to come back? When are these players going to come back? When is Syndergaard going to come back? When is Carrasco going to come? I mean, Carrasco hasn't even played a game with the Mets, but when is he going to, make his debut? When is Conforto going to come back? When is, Davis going to come back? J.D. Davis, when is, Pete Alonso going to come back? When are all these guys going to come back? And, obviously when DeGrom went down as well, everyone's, wondering when will our ace be back? Obviously he returned, on Wednesday, I believe? No, it wasn't yesterday. It was Tuesday. right? I believe it was Tuesday because then yesterday, yeah. So Tuesday he came back because I talked a little about it yesterday. And now you obviously hear now that Syndergaard suffered a step back. And the one thing that I really feel like is hurting the Mets the most is it's all happening at the same time. You know, the Yankees, it would happen, but it was a little spread apart. Like you would get an injury here and there. It was a lot of injuries. And one thing with the Yankees that I got to say, and I know I'm talking about the Yankees, and I get this is more of a Mets subject here. But the thing with the Yankees is the Yankees was more spread apart but longer term. I mean, they would have an injury that would sit them out for a month and a half. You know, the Mets had all just gone ham, and the Mets have just gone drilled. I mean, we'd all started off with a couple injuries here and there, and now all of a sudden, you got absolutely no one in your lineup. That opening day lineup for the New York Mets is literally not even there. I mean, the only guy really that's normal in that lineup is James McCann and Francisco Lindor, and even then, McCann's struggling, and so is Lindor. You got Tomas Nido playing catcher, and Tomas Nido has been very good. You can't take anything away from him. But, I mean, who would have ever thought this would have been a guy that would have been a big piece for this Mets lineup, come, May 27th? No one would have really thought that. But now, obviously, with Syndergaard getting down, this doesn't help anymore. Because, obviously, you're thinking as a New York Mets fan, our hitting is terrible right now. We should get Syndergaard back soon. You got to hope, maybe we get him back. Maybe we get him back soon. Maybe we can all of a sudden start winning some games with this lineup we have if we get good pitching. And now, all of a sudden, Syndergaard is down for another 6 weeks. And I'm going to tell you what, this whole Syndergaard and Mets thing has been a big disaster. And I understand he's had a couple good seasons with the New York Mets. I totally get that. But, I mean, the injuries the past couple seasons have been really, really brutal with him. He obviously missed all of last season with the Tommy John surgery. And, I mean, he was supposed to come back relatively soon this season. And now, all of a sudden, you look at it, and oh, my gosh, he's going to be shut down for another 6 weeks. And you got to think, okay, this guy's almost on the brink of coming back. And then he's so close to coming back. He's throwing in AAA. And, it's going to take him still some time. He's not going to show up tomorrow and be ready to pitch 110 pitches and throw 99 miles an hour. But, I mean, you got to think, he's almost coming back and this and this and this and this. And he suffers a setback. And this has been a story for the New York Yankees, for the New York Mets this season. And it's been the story for Noah Syndergaard in his Met career. I mean, this is a guy that just can't seem to stay healthy ever. And I got to be honest, I'm not a huge Noah Syndergaard fan. I'm really not. If you ask me why, I personally think he's a little overrated. I mean, I know the numbers are good. I know he's had some success. I get that. But this whole Thor thing and this whole, he's so good and this, the guy can't stay healthy. I mean, the guy cannot stay healthy. And I understand I'm a Yankee fan, so I really can't talk too much because when our star players can't stay healthy either, Aaron Judge and Stan the past couple seasons, mainly in particular, have obviously really struggled. This season, obviously, Stan hit the IL, but hey, Judge has been healthy so far, like I said, knock on wood. Now, in terms of Syndergaard, this is a guy who's injured every single second. It's like every single year, it's a new injury with this guy. And now it's Tommy John. And he's so close to coming back. And then he gets hit again with an injury. And to be honest, for Noah Syndergaard, that's got to be really, it's got to be really tough. Mentally, it's got to be really tough. Because this is a guy who puts in all this work, trains this hard, gets all the way to this point, and then all of a sudden suffers another setback. And the New York Mets continue to get hammered by the injury. And luckily, this season, the Mets' pitching has actually been the strength. Taijuan Walker has been a very pleasant surprise. Marcus Stroman, after opting out last year, has been a very pleasant surprise. I think Stroman would be, like I said, I think Stroman's a good pitcher. Did I expect him to be this good? I don't know. Taijuan Walker, I did not expect to be this good. DeGrom, we all expected him to be good. I mean, the guy's won 2 Cy Youngs. The guy's the best pitcher in baseball. He obviously went down, but he came back relatively quickly. And the one tough part with the New York Mets is that 5 spot. They've got DeGrom, Stroman, and Walker, but then you got Peterson and Lucchesi or whatever at the bottom of that rotation, and you need guys back quick. And it's like you almost got Syndergaard back. He suffers a setback. And who knows what's going to happen with Carlos Carrasco, rather. Who knows when he's going to come back. So the New York Mets, their injuries continue. And they are lucky they're in a division that, no one's running away with. They are lucky. Because they're in a division that's really, they're in a division that, no one is running away with. They're in a division that, absolutely no one is running away with. I mean, the Braves are what? Are they still below 500, I think, something like that? The Mets are only like 1 or 2 games above 500. Obviously, they got a doubleheader today. But I mean, oh my God, can't get much worse for the New York Mets right now. And they're still finding ways to win some games. They are. I got to give it to that. They still are finding, some ways to win some games. So you got to give it to them. But I mean, this has been terrible. For them, now all of a sudden you hear Syndergaard, and you're like, okay, maybe, okay. Well, we're getting hammered with injuries, but at least we're getting Syndergaard back soon. Suffers a setback. And you got to look at the big picture with the Mets. I mean, let's say Syndergaard comes back this season. And let's say he pitches dominant. I mean, can you trust him down the road, contract-wise and stuff like that? Like, did the Mets even, try anymore with him? I mean, I don't want to make it seem like just give up on him, but he just can't stay healthy. I mean, it's a guy that comes back, gets injured. Comes all the way back, gets injured. In this situation, close to coming back, gets injured. I mean, it just keeps piling up. Mets Noah Syndergaard shut down for 6 weeks after elbow inflammation injury. So New York Mets pitcher Noah Syndergaard returned from Tommy John surgery, hit a snag Thursday. While there is no structural damage, MLB.com's Anthony DiComo reported that Syndergaard is suffering from inflammation in his throwing elbow and will be shut down for 6 weeks. The right-hander was trending toward returning to the Mets rotation, but he left his second minor league rehab start after the first inning Tuesday because of right elbow soreness. The 28-year-old hurler missed the entire 2020 season after undergoing Tommy John surgery to repair a torn UCL in March 2020. Known by the nickname The Thor, the 6'6", 242-pound Syndergaard was considered one of the most dominant young pitchers in the game early in his career. I said that. His stats were good early on, but he just could not stay healthy. He finished fourth in the National League Rookie of the Year voting in 2015 and followed that up with his first and only All-Star season to date in 2016. The Texas native went 14-9 with a career-best 2.60 ERA that season. He also posted a 1.15 WHIP and struck out a career-high 218 batters in 183 and two-thirds innings. A torn lat muscle limited Syndergaard to 7 starts the following season. He made 25 starts in 2018, going 13-4 with a 3.03 ERA, 1.21 WHIP, and 155 strikeouts and 154 and a thirds inning pitched. Syndergaard was fully healthy in 2019, making a career-high 32 starts, but his other numbers were down. He went just 10-8 with a career-worst 4.28 ERA while posting a 1.323 WHIP and 202 strikeouts over 197 and two-thirds innings. Given the fact that Syndergaard looked somewhat ordinary in 2019 and then missed all of 2020, there are some questions regarding whether the 2010 first-round pick of the Toronto Blue Jays will be able to return to an elite level. Elbow soreness more than a year removed from Tommy John surgery is concerning, especially since it adversely impacted his velocity during Tuesday's start for Class A St. Lucie. Jared Seidler, a baseball prospectus, tweeted a breakdown of Syndergaard's pitches in that game and suggested some of the pitches that registered as changeups were actually fastballs with reduced velocity due to an elbow issue. Those are some of the pitches. And the prospect of not getting Syndergaard back until August or perhaps not even at the whole of this season is worrisome for a Mets team that has been up and down through their first 42 games. New York is in first place in the NL East, but it owns a record of just 22-20. Only 3 games separate the Mets from the last place Washington Nationals, meaning it's still anyone's division. Jacob deGrom, Marcus Stroman, and Taijuan Walker have done an excellent job at the top of the rotation for the New York this season. However, David Peterson and Joey Lucchesi have largely struggled, like I mentioned just a little bit ago. However you say his last name, Lucchesi, however you say it. And Syndergaard would go a long way toward adding depth to the rotation. But there is now a great deal of uncertainty regarding when he will be able to return to the majors. So, another bad news for the Mets and more injuries for them. Not a shocker. No, not surprising. Just how it is. So, all right. So let's get into New York Sports Update, and we'll finish off this podcast here on this Thursday. Yesterday in the NBA, the Jazz won. They tie the series up 1-1. Knicks won 102-91 as well. They tie the series up 1-1. And the Sixers beat the Wizards very good, 120-95. Phillies up 2-0 in the series. As for today, we got the Bucks Heat. The Bucks are cruising. Give me the Bucks to win. As much as I hate to say, give me the Bucks to win. Lakers Suns, I think Lakers will win there. They seem to be rolling right now. They obviously only won the one game, but they looked a whole lot better. And the Suns without CP3 looked a little lost, or without 100% CP3. And Trailblazers Nuggets, I think the Nuggets will take that game. As for the NHL, yesterday the Wild won, so they forced a Game 7. Lightning won 4-0, so they win the series, and so did the Islanders 5-3. So the Lightning and Islanders both move on. Lightning will play the winner of the Predators-Hurricane series, which will be decided either today or next game. That's Game 6 is today. And obviously the Islanders will play the Boston Bruins. So today we got 2 games on. Maple Leafs, Canadiens. Give me the Maple Leafs to win. If the Maple Leafs win there, that will conclude that series. And then Hurricanes, Predators, I'll give Hurricanes to win. So tonight we could find out all, if the Hurricanes and Maple Leafs win tonight, we know all the second round matchups except Vegas, Minnesota has a Game 7 tomorrow. So we'll see how it all plays out. And then in the MLB yesterday, we had the Red Sox won, Giants won, Padres won, Astros won, Marlins won, Rays won, Cubs won, Tigers won, Angels won, A's won, Cardinals won, and Twins won. As for today, we got the Cubs, Pirates. I'll give Cubs to win. Indians, Tigers. I'll give Indians to win. Padres, Brewers. I'll give Padres to win. Nationals, Reds. I'll give Nationals to win. Cubs are winning right now. I was going to give them the win anyway. But you see that play by Javier Baez. That was pretty crazy. Mets right now are winning 1-0. So I was probably gonna give the Mets the win anyway. Since they're playing now, though, I guess I won't. Instead, I'll give them. And the Royals Rays. That game is about to go. I'll give the Rays the win. Okay, so also games today. The Phillies won and Mets won. And second game for the Mets. I guess I'll give them a win. Why not? Alrighty, let's see here. Alright, so Nationals, Reds, I'll give Nationals the win. White Sox, Orioles, I'll give White Sox the win. A's, Angels, I'll give A's the win. Cardinals, Diamondbacks, give Cardinals the win. Dodgers, Giants, give Dodgers the win. And Mariners, Rangers, Mariners, I'll give Rangers the win. Also, as for today's games, we got the Yankees, Blue Jays. First game starts at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time on MLB Network. Manoah on the mound for the Blue Jays. He's their top prospect versus Herman's on the mound for the Yankees. 4-2 with a 3.05 ERA, over under 7. I'll give the Yankees to win this game. I think the Yankees split today. I could see it. So second game or first game, I could see us splitting, honestly. Not that I don't believe in the Yankees. It's just a lot of times that happens. Second game's at 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Robbie Ray's on the mound for the Blue Jays, 2-1, 3.42 ERA. Montgomery's on the mound for the Yankees, 2-1, 4.07 ERA, over under 7 for that game. I could see a split. Hopefully the Yankees take both, but it's possible. Monty and Herman. I'll take it. That's solid. And we head to Detroit. It's an opportunity today. If we take 2 games today and head to Detroit, Detroit. Come on. Those are golden opportunities. Alright, so as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently losing 168 to 138. Today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Matt Olson, Whit Merrifield, Gene Segura, Jay Cronenworth, Marcus Semien, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows. Let's see, who else? Dylan Carlson, Avisaíl Garcia, Josh Rojas, and Will Smith. By the way, I did make a move. So the move I made was I didn't drop, but I put Luke Voit on the IL. So let's read the report on him. Voit was placed on the 10-day injured list Wednesday with a grade 2 oblique strain, Brian Hoke of MLB.com reports. So Voit, I placed him on the IL, on the injured list, and I added Josh Rojas. So Rojas this season's batting .299, 25 runs scored, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and 86 points of fantasy. He's 11th for his position rank, 1.9 average points, and 62.3. Out of all the leagues, 62.3% of them have him rostered. He's been playing well lately. He had 7 points, then -1, but then 1 and then 4 back-to-back. So he's been playing very well. So I picked him up. He also gives me flexibility at second base, shortstop, and outfield. So I like that. So that's the move I made yesterday, and that was pretty much it. That was the only fantasy move there. Placing Voit on the IL for the second time this season. It's kind of funny because fantasy baseball reminds me a whole lot of, maybe it's just how my first season's going, but fantasy hockey, same thing too. The first season, right? I noticed that it was more some of my players that I picked later in the rounds were really producing. That same thing here. Like my first pick was Cole. He's really producing. Then my second pick was Yelich. He's been okay. But he's been on the IL twice already. Voit, now this is his second time on the IL. I picked him up early. Actually, I didn't pick him up that early. I picked him up like later round because he was already on the IL to start. But it's definitely been some of the later picks that have been really stepping up and some of the acquisitions as well. But anyway, that's what I got for the podcast here today. So another very good podcast in the books. Time to get ready for the New York Yankees game. To get going, got to get the good old scorebook ready. Obviously, I do the scorebook for the games, get the lineup, all that good stuff ready, and we'll get ready to enjoy 2 baseball games today. So that should be good. And with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.